That's your boy Jones here on Jones'NForSports. I got a special guest, longtime friend, John. How you doing, man? I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, anytime, brother.
Today, John, we're gonna talk about wrestling, man. I know that's what you're something you're very passionate about. So I want to hear what's going on in the sports world. But I know as well that you have a podcast yourself. So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my podcast basically is called the Bad Guys Podcast. We talk about a lot of WWE topics, just because it's obviously the sports entertainment pro wrestling kind of entity right now.
Absolutely.
It's number one. It's out on. They have their own network, and on top of it too, they have so many pay-per-views going on all year round, and I think it's more in the public eye more than any other wrestling organization that's out there.
Absolutely.
But we also hit other things too. We hit New Japan Pro Wrestling. We talk a little bit about the independent stuff that's going on there with Ring of Honor, TNA, and other pretty much news-related topics that need to be addressed on our show. Right now, it's just audio, but you can check us out on our YouTube page. It's just called the Bad Guys Podcast.
Listen up.
Let's see. Well, I have to say, it's a pretty interesting concept. I guess what we really much bring to the table is just our passion, our true passion for wrestling.
Right.
I've been a fan since I was 6 years old.
Nice.
I can't tell you like the first match that really got me into wrestling. Mm-hmm. I guess just because I've watched so much wrestling in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that I can really pinpoint what really got me into it. I just remember growing up as a kid, a friend of mine when I used to live in the Bronx, his name was Norman. Mm-hmm. He had all the action figures and stuff, and I remember I was just playing with him one day, and I remember he threw it on the TV, and I guess you could say the rest is history. I mean, I've been a fan of it consistently since I was 6 years old, and I'm 33 now.
So you've definitely been watching it for a long time.
Yeah, and I would have to say also, I guess there was always somewhat, like, in my life, I've always felt that wrestling was a pretty intricate part of my life.
There you
go.
You
know what I'm saying? I don't think that... it definitely connected with me and resonated with me as something that kind of, I guess as a person, I would say it's part of my personality.
Right.
Like, I don't see myself ever, like, not watching wrestling.
Exactly.
So, when I started this podcast, I wanted to really kind of, like, dive myself into wrestling itself. Right. I wanted to really kind of go in and do the research and kind of see what's going on in the wrestling world and report it and give my own take on it and what I felt about it, because God knows there's been so many times I'd watch a show and I'd be like, why the hell did they just do that?
Right.
You know, like they should have done it this way or that way. And I think having the podcast kind of gave me an outlet to express it and kind of do it in a constructive way, and just I've been pretty blessed to have a team with me that's been helping me along the way, from my editor to my my co-host that I have with me.
Nice.
And anybody else that I pretty much bring on the show that like loves wrestling too, that wants to sit down and talk about it with us. I think it's been a pretty like... It's been a pretty opening experience for me, and kind of like showing me personally like how much I truly do love this business.
Exactly.
And like I get so, like when you watch something, like whether it be football or basketball, it's like the same feeling I get when I watch professional wrestling, and I get so passionate about it that I think that I really wanted to just become a part of it in any way, shape, or form that I can.
Absolutely.
And I think for my fans or anybody that follows me, I would like to think that they think that I have a true understanding and a good mind for the business. I don't only just do rants and just talk about, what I don't like about it, but I kind of give like an insight as towards like what my personal feeling is towards where they should have gone with it, why are they doing the things that they're doing, and I don't know, man. It's been a roller coaster so far, and I truly just... I'm loving it, the ups and downs, everything that comes with it. I think
it's an adventure.
It is an adventure, but at the same time too, it kind of like, I guess makes you figure out whether you truly love it or not.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like when you're down and you don't feel so good about yourself, or maybe the podcast or
Right.
the business that you're doing. And I've had my moments. I don't know. It to me just kind of reinforced it in my mind that like it hasn't pushed me away from it.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes I had
through the
to,
tough times.
Yeah.
You still was very passionate about it, and you wanted to keep going. So
I had to. I felt like I had a responsibility not only just to myself, but like I feel like to the wrestling world,
right,
the fans
exactly.
itself. That
Exactly,
I feel
the
like
viewers.
if I could just have them see what I see or what I envision about what the product should be. And I feel like if someone agrees with me on it, I feel like I've done my job as someone that's kind of like broadcasting it out and kind of giving my opinion about the topics or whatever that we're talking to.
Right. Because there's definitely people that definitely share the same opinion you do. So when you speak your mind, you speak your opinions out to the world about how you feel about, a certain event or whatever. There's definitely someone out there that's hearing that and be like, you know what? He's absolutely right. So I definitely hear what you're saying. That connection is definitely big. So.
It's pretty cool when you connect with other people on a subject that you're passionate about.
Right.
And at the same time, too, you'll give your own opinion about it, and they agree with you.
Right. Even when they don't agree, just to have that
That's
debate,
okay
that
if you don't want to agree.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay with people not agreeing with the way that I see things.
Right.
But as long as you're respectful in that aspect and understanding that it's someone's opinion at the end of the day. It's an opinion. And even people that are doing it on ESPN, they're giving their opinion about certain things, about certain subjects and certain people or certain teams. It's just they're on a bigger stage and they're getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we're all trying to do on these shows, and just as long as you're doing it in a professional way and you're not being a scumbag about it, I think that you'll be okay.
Absolutely. So if you guys are a fan of wrestling, definitely go check out the Bad Guys podcast, right?
Yep.
Go check that out. Where can they find it?
Well, you can find us on YouTube. You can just type in the Bad Guys podcast there. We can find us on Facebook. Same thing. It's all the same name. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter also. So
definitely. So you guys,
all the same name.
There you go. Check it out. Definitely. So I haven't been, checking on wrestling too much. I get my updates here and there, but I know you're, the pro, so to say, and you know what's the updates and what's going on. So just let the viewers know what's going on in the wrestling world.
I mean, like, there's a lot going on. I mean, if you just want to tackle just WWE itself, I mean, I guess it's the easier topic to talk about. Because a lot more of the...
more popular?
Yeah, I guess the general public is more open to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty much something that almost anybody knows. World Wrestling Federation or WWE, World Entertainment. You know,
since we were young,
a lot of stuff has changed. You know, there's let's see. Well, Brock Lesnar came back, obviously,
huge,
a couple years ago, but now he just had a pay-per-view not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
And then Survivor Series with AJ Styles, which was another independent wrestler that was working with TNA and was working with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but got signed with WWE, and he had a pretty interesting match. I wasn't really happy with the way they kind of made Brock look so much of he just overpowered AJ the entire match. And it just seemed so one-sided. And for a guy that's a part-timer for the company, it just didn't make sense to me to not put that guy over.
Right.
In a sense, at least making him at least look somewhat formidable.
Exactly.
To you, you know what I'm saying? Like, he gave you somewhat of a fight. And it was like the first 10 minutes was like just AJ getting his ass kicked the entire time.
Yeah, no one wants to see that.
So it was just one of those things. And they just didn't promote it very well, I feel, in my opinion, the last pay-per-view. Just a lot of stuff going on in WWE in general. I guess, like I said, going with the Survivor Series that we just came off from, the matches were okay. You know, it wasn't a horrible pay-per-view.
Right.
But at the same time, too, it wasn't anything that stood out to me on a personal level where I said, "Wow, that entire pay-per-view was like solid from beginning to end." You know,
right?
There's some questionable booking that I would say, as far as like when they put the people in the matches together. Decide to put
exactly.
I just wasn't happy with certain outcomes, and then I was happy with certain. But I guess, you know what? I mean, they're not going to be able to please everybody. Exactly. They're not going to be able to please me. And God knows they haven't been pleasing me lately just because I'm not happy with the product, but it's like a product that I still watch because I hope that the product gets better.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that anybody who is a hardcore wrestling fan, as much as I am, expects a certain type of product.
Absolutely.
When you've been when you've been watching it for so many years. So with that going on and stuff, and Cody Rhodes is doing an amazing workout over in Ring of Honor towards their new heavyweight champion.
Nice.
He's doing good work out there. I've met Cody a few times. Super sweet guy, super approachable and respect. He's earned my respect so much, in the sense of once he's left WWE, he's been nonstop with just promoting himself,
right,
and really getting the bookings and really being booked strong on other independent shows, whether it be Ring of Honor, New Japan. He was working briefly with TNA. But he's someone that I am happy that he's getting the exposure that he deserves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I've met him a couple times. He's an awesome dude. Same thing with the Young Bucks. Obviously, I'm wearing Young Bucks gear right now. You can get that stuff at Hot Topic. They're doing amazing work. I think what I really, truly just love about what's going on in wrestling right now is that there's so much that you can get a hold of to watch.
Right.
Like, you're not limited to just WWE anymore.
Right.
Like you have your like WWE has their own network, but at the same time too, New Japan has their own network, New Japan World. You can check that out. It's good stuff if you like some really hard hitting wrestling, professional wrestling. I consider WWE sports wrestling,
so it's like
and sports entertainment wrestling instead of professional wrestling. Like, I look at it in two different avenues when it comes to WWE's product and then everybody else's product.
Okay.
I don't know. And let's see if you want. I mean, TNA has like their own library. If you're into like the TNA product, which I was a fan of years ago, but unfortunately, their product just has been pretty stale, and there's a lot of problems with just financially. It's just not working with them. I don't know how much longer they're pretty much staying afloat right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much longer they're gonna have until they kind of like close doors, unless something completely changes with them, and they get some financial relief.
Yeah, sometimes we need that.
Let's see what else is going on. I mean, like, the women's wrestling has really kind of like shined a lot.
Right, I've seen that. Noticed that.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of attention. WWE is now really kind of pushing that a lot more. And they're getting eyes on them for the first time, really.
Right.
And being looked at as true professionals.
As they should.
And not looked at as like a sideshow.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because God knows back in the day, and this is not a knock to the women who kind of pretty much paved the way to where it is now, that it was like their fault that they weren't getting the attention. Right. I just think that from where they had started as towards doing like my era, like I started, like I told you, when I was 6 years old, and women's wrestling really wasn't on television at that point, like in the late 80s, early 90s. It wasn't really in your face that much.
Right, exactly.
You had a lot of women managers. They weren't really going too much in the ring, and when they were in the ring, they weren't doing too much.
Yep.
And now you look at, like, from the Attitude Era, I guess you would say, like, my more teenage years, where I really kind of got into watching like the ECW and all that other stuff that was out there, and WCW. Women's wrestling was just it's grown leaps and bounds, and I'm glad to see it going in that light. I just want them to just fine tune a few things as towards with the way that they. I still think for a product like WWE, who has the time, who has the opportunity, and they have a very big roster right now. Like right now, WWE's roster is probably the biggest it's ever been. Really? And it's pretty in depth with the amount of people that are involved in the company. And with the women's side of it, they have so many women now. Like, they don't even know what to do with half of them. So what do you do with the roster that you have right now for the women? I think it's the right time to pull the trigger and give them their own hour block on the network. Have them have their own show. Okay. Work with their own storylines, and still feature them on Raw and SmackDown, which is aired on USA Network. Okay. and just pretty much give them the opportunity. I mean, like, you're already rolling with them right now. You might as well just push it even further and really kind of utilize them to a point where they're at least getting enough exposure. Because right now, even on Raw and SmackDown, and even NXT, which is another, I say, still developmental for WWE, they're still not getting enough airtime. And they're not being able to really kind of put on good storylines.
Okay.
And I think that's the one thing that I get frustrated with as a product with WWE in general. Their writers aren't doing a good job right now with the writing. And I know that, professional wrestling, it's looked at as it's just like, it's a live show, it's not a sport,
exactly.
and whatever. But the amount of work that these people and these individuals go into to perform in and out of the ring to keep themselves in shape, like they don't have an off season.
Right.
This is 365. You know what I'm saying? And for them not to be looked at like that, I think kind of just frustrates me. And the one thing that I really love about professional wrestling, and WWE too, is that it's almost like a sandbox. Like you can create anything you want in this world because it's it's open to creatively to just do whatever you want to be compelled, to have compelling people give these compelling storylines. It's a male soap opera.
Right.
That's the thing. It's a male soap opera.
It's a good way of looking at it.
And I truly say that about it because I feel like it really is.
Right.
And then you have all these different characters in there, and I don't know, man. It's just right now I'm not getting that depth in WWE.
Okay.
And that's the sad part about it. And maybe that's why on my podcast I go a little bit more harsher when it comes to WWE.
Right.
But I think it's because when you're such a fan for so long, when you see something just kind of deteriorate and just whatever,
it hurts you. It
hurts you as a fan, and it definitely strikes a nerve where you want to express yourself. And I think that's probably the reason why I kind of went into doing the podcast myself, because I was like, I need to kind of vent this shit out, but I want to do it in a positive way and in some kind of constructive way where I could put it out there and maybe get some feedback, and maybe I'm not the only person thinking this way.
Absolutely.
You know?
I don't think so. Well, thank you for the feedback. Next question I had for you was, what's going on in the future for WWE or the wrestling world? Is there any big events coming up or anything like that?
They have a show coming up in December, a house show, and they're going to be doing it over at MSG, which they do every year.
Nice.
But if you are a fan of it, go check it out.
Yep.
They also are doing a show on, I believe, either Christmas Day. I think they're doing a show, and I'm not really okay with that. I think it's kind of ridiculous to have your workers work on a holiday like that.
I agree.
When they give you so much throughout the year.
That's true.
And you take a day away from their families and stuff.
Right.
I don't really kind of condone that, but I will be boycotting that as towards not watching it, just because I don't think it's if they get enough viewership, they're going to continue it every year.
Right, they're going to do it anyway.
And I think it's up to us, the fans. If you truly feel like that's the wrong thing to do to them after what they've done for you throughout the year and stuff, I think it's the only right thing to do to not watch for that particular day, just so that the numbers go down, so that the network says we're not going to do this again. And then soon enough, the Royal Rumble will be coming up, which is a huge thing. A lot of people watch that show. That particular pay-per-view, excuse me. And, we're always looking forward to every year and seeing who comes out, who wins it, or everything like that.
Oh, yeah. Exciting.
I don't know. I might do it a live show that day, just kind of watch it. But it's a lot. A lot of these pay-per-view now for WWE, big events, like your Survivor Series, your Royal Rumble, your WrestleMania, these shows, they're getting longer and longer, unfortunately. Just Survivor Series itself was a 6-hour pay-per-view.
Holy shit.
That's a lot for the average consumer to sit down and watch.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have a 2-hour pre-show, and I believe it started at 5, and then you have the show that started after that, and then it ended up at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
which is fine, it ends at 11, but there's no need to have a 6-hour fucking
that's
show. I love wrestling as much as the next person, but I think that the people that are there, in the audience, it's a lot when you have little kids with you and stuff, and especially if it's a WWE product, which they really push the whole like G rating on their show.
Right.
I think it's a lot for a kid to kind of like sit down and be there for 6 hours, and then you gotta keep them entertained somehow, not only with just the wrestling, but with food, drinks,
exactly.
Whatever the case might be that you go in there. Like, it's an event. It's an event. Going to these shows is an event, and it's an expensive event. Right. Those shows are not, like, when you go to those pay-per-views, you're paying good money depending on where you're sitting. Right. You know what I'm saying? And especially if it's like those big shows that I was just talking about, you're paying like thousands of dollars sometimes for these freaking seats. Yeah. And to sit there for 6 hours and then you're not even getting a good product out of it. Yeah. That's my frustration with it. That's where I think a lot of the frustration comes from fans. So when we hop on social media and we bash the product to a degree, I like to think that WWE is taking note. Right. I would like for them to take note and kind of really listen to fans, because right now, your storytelling is not where it needs to be. Your product is not what it needs to be. Yeah, and that's the real problem.
I hear you, man. And hopefully they're listening and they hear you out, because
I don't know. It's kind of weird. You say some things. I said a couple of things on my podcast, and then I saw it implemented. I'm not saying that they actually listened to what I said. I just it would be kind of cool if they did.
Oh, of course.
But at the end of the day, it's their product. They're gonna do what they want to do, and I just wanted to just become the exciting product that it was when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
I know that sometimes when you get older, you become a little jaded.
Oh, yeah.
Because you watch something for so long. So
exactly.
You feel like, I know what's best, and they need to do it my way.
Absolutely.
But I truly know what's best for business. So they need to really watch what the hell I'm doing and listen to me a little bit more. I don't know. I'm just a guy trying to make a dream come true for myself, and get a little piece of that cake. And everybody else.
The consumers' ideas and opinions are important, you know. So
without the customer, there's no product.
You're nothing. Exactly. No so if they're listening, listen to my boy. He knows what he's talking about. Thank you for coming on, man.
Of course, dude.
I appreciate you coming out here and letting the fans know a little bit about what you got going on and what's going on in the wrestling world, because definitely need to hear it from somebody that's been in the game for a little while. And he knows what he's talking about. So I try to do the best that I can. I may not live up to everybody's standards, but I like to think that I'm living up to my standards. Yeah, that's all that's important, man. I'm happy to be here on your show and stuff, and I'm happy that you felt that I was good enough to be on the show. So absolutely, thank you very much. One more time, let them know about your podcast. Yeah, look, if you guys are interested in watching or listening, to my podcast, you can listen to it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, right, and Twitter. All the same name, the Bad Guys Podcast. It's pretty simple. So definitely go check that out, man. It's your boy Jones here on Jones'NForSports. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, do the whole thing. I'm on Twitter as well at Jones'NForSports. And that's it, man. I got what I needed to get off my mind. My boy did too. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. Peace.